Hello, my name is Mariana Gutierrez, and this is my policy analysis project. So for this presentation, I chose the Victims of Trafficking and Violence Protection Act of 2000. The formal public law number of this act is 106-38. The date that this act was passed was October 28th of 2000. The sponsor of this act is Christopher H. Smith. So, for the Trafficking Victims Act of 1999, it was introduced to the House on November 8th of 1999. The TVPA, which was first enacted in 2000, is the first national foundation for a federal response to human trafficking. This law has been reenacted, reapproved, reconditioned 4 times, most recently being in January of 2019. So there have been several revisions to the original act, which include the Reauthorized Section Act of 2003, of 2005, of 2008, and most recently 2013, and then 2019 as well. So the main goal of this act and its original foundation is to combat trafficking in persons, specifically into the sex trade, slavery, and involuntary servitude, to reauthorize certain federal programs to prevent violence against women, and for other purposes as well. So for this specific act, there are 3 divisions, and I chose Division B, which is Violence Against Women Act. So the history of this act, I'm going to cite, it says, in recognition of the severity of the crimes associated with domestic violence, sexual assault, and stalking, Congress passed the Violence Against Women Act of 1994 as part of the Violent Crime Control and Law Enforcement Act of 1994. The protections and provisions afforded by the 1994 legislations were subsequently expanded and improved in the Violence Against Women Act of 2000 and the Violence Against Women Act and Department of Justice Reauthorization Act of 2005. The sponsor of this division of the act is Constance Morella, and the main objective of this division of the act, specifically the VAWA, which stands for Violence Against Women Act, creates and supports comprehensive, cost-effective responses to domestic violence, sexual assault, dating violence, and stalking, anything that falls within those lines. So I want to speak on the initial problems that have been created because of this problem that we have been facing. So I believe that the root of violence against women stems from gender inequality and the acceptance of the normality of violence and brutality against women in society. It has become a substantial public health issue and an absolute violation of women's human rights, basic human rights. There are various factors that are affected by this kind of violence, including major health consequences, negative impact on children and families, and social and economic instability. There are many short-term and long-term effects that can alter and influence crucial aspects of a woman's life and those surrounding. There are many mental and physical battles that may come with this as well. There's just a lot of effects that come with this kind of brutality. One of the most recognized forms of violence against women is that of intimate partner violence. This form refers to actions taken by a current or former intimate partner that harms the victim physically, sexually, or psychologically. And in that, these actions may include physical violence, sexual coercion, psychological abuse, and dominating behavior. All of these really tie into various mental issues, which have a drastic percentage in women in modern day, as you can see. So I believe that women's violence can be eradicated. It can be stopped. In addition to serving as a point of entry for directing women to various support services, they may necessitate the health sector has a crucial role to play in providing comprehensive health care to victims of abuse. There are many programs, many government programs, and nonprofit organizations as well, that their main purpose is to help women in need that have nowhere to go, that are in situations that are life-threatening. All in all, there are many helping points around the world for women that are suffering and are in need of immediate help. So I believe that violence against women has existed since the dawn of time. Throughout many centuries of brutality against women, the twisted truth is that it has grown to become more accepted in society, as now we teach women how to protect themselves instead of teaching men how to be respectful and be normal human beings, which, you know, is a very common factor as to the leadings into women's violence. It is very accepted nowadays for women to be more cautious in every aspect of their lives, which has stemmed from centuries of being forcefully put down in every aspect. And I think that has to be drastically changed and altered, because, again, it is a violation of women's basic human rights to do normal things. To quote, more than 2,000 years ago, Roman law gave a man life and death authority over his wife. In the 18th century, English common law gave a man permission to discipline his wife and children with a stick or whip no wider than his thumb. This rule of thumb, quote unquote, prevailed in England and America until the late 19th century. So like I said, violence against the female gender has always been an issue. It has always been a very deeply integrated part of the American foundation, as you can clearly see from this quote. Although many of the tactics that were used in ancient times, and honestly not so ancient, most of them are not very accepted and mostly are illegal in modern society, in modern day. But the amounts of violence and brutality that is still widely accepted and very legal in America and also every other country in the world is astounding. It's truly mind-blowing how after so many centuries of women's oppression, it is still a current issue that has yet to be solved, which has no prior motive. I find absolutely no reason for this act to even have been created, because it's truly saddening to see that we have to take governmental and national action to prevent situations like this from happening. So like I said, from ancient times where all violence against women was agreed upon by law and encouraged, now in modern times, although now mostly illegal, it unfortunately still occurs. Um, so 1 out of 3 women have experienced physical or sexual violation, mostly by an intimate partner. Those are facts grabbed by an academic source. 1 out of 3 women in the world have experienced some sort of violence of this sort, which I find very, very saddening to receive these statistics. So this is why I believe that this policy has become necessary. So up until 1994, there was no legitimate policy that was created to end this brutality. Millions of women and children around the world were terribly suffering prior to this act being passed. So thanks to the VAWA and its impact, acts of domestic violence have been reported as much as 51% more frequently, which have resulted in a greater number of arrests. Also, incidents of domestic violence are decreasing as well, including a 67% reduction in the rate of intimate partner violence. And also a decrease in the rate of homicides from anywhere of 35% to 46%, which I find very, very amazing that this act has done wonders since the year that it has been passed. So it really is no question that there should have been something done way before this act was ever taken place. But nonetheless, I believe that the VAWA has saved many lives throughout its creation, and it has also echoed the impact throughout the world, broadcasting and shedding a light on the belittlement of women's human rights and bringing peace and protection to the women in need. I believe that this act has done its justice, and it will continue to do its justice with the reauthorization every couple of years that it's done. So this is my policy and analysis project, and I hope you enjoyed. Thank you very much.